And I want to know, after you've coached thousands of influencers in the program, do you think that anyone can be an influencer?
No. This is the Good Influencer Podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one. So for season 2, we wanted to do something a little special, a little fun, a little different. And so we are going to be doing a 20 question segment where Julia and I ask each other questions at the beginning of each episode. We each get a question. So by the end of the season, we'll hit 20 questions. Now, I told Julia I don't want to know the question beforehand, and I'm not going to tell you what my question is beforehand because it's just a little more exciting that way. So diving right in, I'm going to give you a little bit of a softie this time because it's our first time back. But what is your dream collab?
Ooh, good question. Well, the funny thing is I haven't really thought too much specifically about the brand specifically. I think more about products that I want to design in collaboration with people. Like, so for instance, I really want to do a tabletop collection.
Right.
I really want to do a hardware collection. I really want to do just practical, a knife collection. Like, there's so many kitchen things, which I think is really something I'm drawn to because it's just such functional design, and I love functional design. And I feel like things that there's only ugly versions of are really attractive to me, that I'm like I want to design a Kleenex box. I've said that from the start. Like, and I know like I can design a cover, but like, would I love to just partner with Kleenex or Puffs? Absolutely. But I think of less about brands, which I don't know if that's probably something I need to write down. And I think more about the products that I want to design. And so much of it has come to fruition because I think I'm less focused on a specific brand and I'm more focused on where I can make my mark.
Yeah, I love that. And a lot of them have happened.
I know. I'm really and the future is bright. So I think we're kind of just getting started there. Okay, my question for you, do you think now Becca's been managing our Good Influencer Mastermind for years now, just over 3 years. And I want to know, after you've coached thousands of influencers in the program, do you think that anyone can be an influencer?
No. But honestly, I think if you would have asked me that on my second day on the job, my answer would still have been no. Because I think
Really?
there's such a misconception of like being an influencer is just posting a story and making a ton of money off of it. It is such hard work. And there's some people who come into the program and they do it for a few months or a year even, and they're like, you know what, this is not for me, and that's totally fine. And the people who do take this seriously and who do make it are ones who are like, I am going to work so hard at this. I'm going to offer a unique perspective. I'm going to be so willing to adapt. And like, there's room for everybody that wants to do that. But I think those reasons are why not everybody can be an influencer.
So do you say no because not everyone will do what it takes? Or is there an inherent thing that you must have? Is there an it factor that some people just don't have? Or do you think anyone that's willing to do it can do it?
I think anyone that's willing to do it can do it. And I think, but for me, the biggest testament of that is TikTok. Like TikTok, I feel like really the creators over there go against the grain so often that it's like, wow, look, like they're
doing something different and it's really working for them and they're really taking off. And I learned so much from that. And so I think there's not like, I think anyone can do this. Anyone can offer a unique perspective. You just have to be willing to do it.
And you have to be authentic. I think like people that, at first I would say like some people just don't have what it takes. And I do think a lot of that is just the discipline part of it. But, some people are like, oh, I'm just so bad in front of a camera. Embrace it. Embrace how bad you are in front of a camera because that's going to come off really authentic and people are going to like grasp onto that and relate to that so much. Don't say over and over, I'm so bad in front of the camera. People can see, like people are going to see that you're awkward and they're going to feel awkward and they're going to relate to it because like I feel awkward too. I just think about, those so specific memes that I see of people like calling out something from, let's just say something I referenced in the last episode about like reading the back of a cereal box as a child until I got it perfect. Like that is a story that I thought was uniquely me, but ended up resonating with so many people. And even if you're like an awkward person, if you can lean into that and get over it and show up and be dedicated and do all the things, then yes, I think you can make it. I don't think 2% of people will.
Right. Also, like so many people in the mastermind are like, they say like, I'm so scared to show up or I'm so scared. Like, I don't want to show my home. It's not super polished or I don't want to like, I don't have any makeup on. I don't want to show that. And like, you don't realize that that's exactly what your audience wants to see. When we say like Instagram is getting a little more casual with their content, that's what people want to see. They want to see more of the process, more of the behind the scenes. So I wouldn't shy away from that. I would actually lean into it even more.
I agree. I mean, it's always refreshing when you see someone like, I think that's why people are obsessed with like day in the lives. Now I can always tell when they're fake, but I like the real ones.
I can always tell a fake what I eat in a day. Let's be real. Everyone needs a little sweet treat at night.
I know. Guess what? Once I tried to do a what I eat in the day, and halfway through the day I forgot. And so then the next day I was like, well, I'll just start with my lunch the next day. And then I did my lunch and then I was like, oh, I forgot again. It ended up being like a 4-day piece together thing that I never posted because I was like, well, this is like not even real. This was just the best meals I ate over the last week.
That's the hook.
I think is true. I think this is true of a lot of people. Like, you did not make that. You did not make that yogurt bowl come on.
It's all for show. Let's be real. Let's be realistic about it.
All right, I'm going to out myself here, but 14 years ago, it's been that long, I did my very first sponsorship. Since then, we've grown our sponsorships department to 7 figures annually and have lasting relationships with honestly my dream brand. We're taking everything that I've learned and we know as a company about pitching, negotiating, creating, and invoicing sponsorships and teaching it to anyone that wants to learn in our upcoming Race to $10,000 challenge in the Good Influencer Mastermind. This is a 2-week challenge starting on June 16th, focused on helping you book your first $10,000 campaign. I don't care how many followers you have. We will see you at the starting line.
Today, I want to talk about being brand pleasing online and not, we've talked about, your behavior online and not cussing and being careful about the topics you post about. But I actually want to talk about like kind of the relationship between influencers and brands during sponsorships and also when sponsorships aren't going on. And I'm trying to remember what year it was. And I also don't know if we can say the brand, but there was an instance where a brand reached out and said we weren't allowed to use the word dupe anymore in reference to affiliates.
I can tell you the exact year And I don't think that they would mind me saying, because I think it's in all of their stuff now.
Yeah.
So I have the email in front of me. It was June 2022. And this was kind of at peak of our daily segment called the Daily Dupe. And this is where we would find products online, a high priced one and a lower priced lookalike. And we'd put them on the same slide and we'd call it the Daily Dupe. It was extremely popular. It was extremely copied by a lot of other influencers. And I always encourage influencers, if you're just starting out and you're struggling to come up with content, think of a weekly segment. And then once you have your weekly segment, start thinking of a daily segment. What's just something that you can put out every day that's going to be beneficial to your audience? In our case, this was the Daily Dupe, and we were pretty much known for it. Like I said, it was copied by a lot of people down to the layout.
Yeah.
And they were using the word dupe as well. Now, we were not always linking to Amazon products, but a lot of the dupes that we were finding were on Amazon, Wayfair, Target, all of these other sites. And they were lookalike products that really rivaled the more expensive designer one. Now, I say designer. In reality, and I've learned this the more I've gotten into design, like I look at, everyone's at different levels of budget, right? And what I may have started out at the IKEA level, and now I might be at the Pottery Barn level, but guess what? And that's like, expensive to some people. Well, Pottery Barn is like making lookalikes of even more expensive. Like the original might be $15,000 and we're showing a $3,000 version and a $200 version. So I think even above levels where you're shopping at, where your audience might be shopping at, there's going to be even more designer ones. It's just a trickle down. We all know the reference in The Devil Wears Prada.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Where she talks about the trickle down, and it takes years. And so even, me being more into the design field now, I see where this trickle down starts. But anyway, in 2022, we were at the height of our segment called The Daily Dupe, where we were literally putting out these lookalike products at different price points daily. And we got an email from Amazon that basically said that they're reaching out in regards to our Amazon influencer account and said that if we don't stop using the word dupe, we also can't use the word fake or faux in connection with the brand. And we have to stop promoting products that display a designer's name. And we have to remove all the daily dupes from any website, our storefront, anything that has the word dupe in connection with Amazon, we have to remove in 5 days or our account is going to be shut off.
Meaning you lose all the commissions you have in there, right?
Yes, and we wouldn't be able to make any further Amazon commissions. They would shut off our Amazon affiliate. So that day, that hour that this email came in, we did my favorite thing, that is brainstorm. And we brainstormed, okay, this doesn't mean we have to stop doing the segment. This means we can't use the word dupe, fake, faux in relation to these products. And so after the morning, we ended up coming up with the double take, and we rebranded everything. We redesigned everything. We re-uploaded everything. We stopped using the word dupe in our content. I still can't even say it on my Instagram, the word dupes. And it was a little frustrating for a while because one, our audience was like, I miss the Daily Dupe. And I'm like, this is the same thing.
Yeah, you have to train them.
But I also remember I put on Instagram, like after I was getting a lot of feedback on like, why did you change it? I didn't want to get in trouble, but I remember putting an explanation over an image of the Amazon River.
That's right.
I got a picture of the Amazon River and I put an explanation over it just saying that we got a cease and desist from a large brand saying we're no longer allowed to use the word dupe. And so going forward, it'll be the same content just called the double take. And everyone was trying to figure out, some people did like, oh, wait, this is the Amazon River. And honestly, I think that this just goes to show like brands are going to go after the biggest fish to get it. Like there are still people that use the word dupe. And there was many months and years after that we changed ours that I saw other influencers still using that word. And there's nothing I could do about it. All I could do was the instructions that I received. And they're not the only ones now that have asked us to stop using that word. We just signed a contract with Etsy over Mother's Day. And in the contract, it says that we're not allowed to use the word dupe. So I think it's just, when I ask myself, why can't we use the word dupe? I think it has to go with they don't want to get sued.
I think it
whoever
was.
they're duping.
And they honestly could have said that from the beginning of like, this is becoming like a legal issue to use that word. But I just like, I remember that day and like, Victoria talked on the last episode about like the days where we have to pivot and like those are the most exciting ones. It was like everything Julia said happened in the span of an hour. It's like, all right, let's sit down. Let's brainstorm a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take everything down that has Amazon's name attached to it. It was crazy, but made it happen.
Yeah. Legally, I mean, the word dupe just sends red flags to everyone. It can raise intellectual property issues, especially in like if the original brand has patents or trademarks or things like that. And so I understand. And to me, I'm like, okay, easy. I'll take that word out of my vocab. I guess when it comes down to it, I'm like, not a big deal. Let's change it and move on. I'm not going to die on the dupe hill. And I think that goes along with like a lot of like brand expectations. I don't work for these brands. Like I do not work for Amazon.
Right.
I have a contract with Amazon, and when they have certain expectations, I can choose whether I want to abide or whether I want to not have a relationship with them anymore. We had a great relationship with Sleep Number for many years, and I mean, we still sleep on a Sleep Number mattress happily. Every night when we go on vacation, we miss our Sleep Number mattress. I love Sleep Number. I also have Lisa mattresses on other beds in my house. Like I have been very loyal to those brands because I truly love them. And we had a contract with Sleep Number for many years, and it came to an end when their new contract said that we had to always use their bedding on all of our beds. And it just wasn't even when we weren't doing a sponsorship post or anything, they just wanted us to be so like connected in every way, which I totally understand. However, that wasn't something that I was willing to do. And so we ended very amicably. And I think when brands come to you with a contract, with a list of wants, and we redline every contract. It's the start. And sometimes they're deal breakers. And for us, that was something that we redlined. And for them, that was a deal breaker. And we were like, totally understand. Best of luck. Still sleep on a Sleep Number mattress. I'll never say a negative thing about them. And we move on.
Yeah. You haven't lost any sleep over it.
Quite the opposite.
Is this like a common thing that brands ask, like try to ask for things outside of the scope of, let's say, just like one sponsorship? Like beyond the sponsorship, we want these things.
Okay, I'll say this. I am watched by a lot of the brands that we work with, whether we're under contract currently with them or not. And I'll tell you this to any influencer, you are being watched
100%.
by sponsors that want to work with you, that have worked with you, that are currently working with you. You are being watched by PR agencies looking to fill roles. You're always being watched. And so have I been asked to remove things from my Instagram? Absolutely. Have I been under contract with these companies? No. But it's up to me whether I want to obey or like listen to them or not. I remember one instance is my pool cover, which I've never been under contract with my pool cover. I paid for it myself. I literally didn't even know that they knew who I was. And I know that's something that I say a lot. Like a lot of times people, like my audience will ask me like, oh, can you get a code? And I'm like, I'm just sharing my necklace. Like they don't even know who I am. They don't know who I am. I'm just organically sharing this. And sometimes, they'll come through with a code. But I remember my pool cover, we shared, which it was in some of their marketing materials, that you could like drive across the pool cover. It was supposed to be this like big safety cover. But I remember we did a reel or something that of me walking across the pool cover.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just kind of demonstrating that, hey, you could do that. They reached out in minutes and were like, can you please take this down? And I was like, what? Like, why? And I ended up taking it down because I was like, again, I'm not going to die on this hill. And clearly maybe they were worried about some sort of like liability issue there. But I was never under contract with them and they still found that content and asked me to remove it. I was not under contract to remove it or not, but I just did. But even brands that we are under, like for instance, Farmer's Dog, who we use and love for years and years and years, I organically share about them and I share about them under contract as well. And sometimes when I organically share about them, they ask me to like include a code. And I'm like, well, like I get it because that, would be nice, but then it feels like an ad to my audience. And so sometimes it's nice not to have external links going out on organic content. Like that defeats the purpose of organic content to me. And I think one thing that us as a team are really focusing on, and this just comes from my own loyalty, is like when we are in contract with brands, I am extremely loyal to them in that if I worked with a brand, even in the last 6 months, I'm not going to go to their competitor. Most recently, I think my audience has seen me switch from Our Place to Caraway. And I got a lot of questions about like, wait, what about your Our Place pants? And I was like, I bought the Caraway pants myself because they wanted to work with us. And I was like, well, currently I'm using Our Place pants that I also bought myself. And I want to try them without being under contract. And so I bought them myself, used them for 2 months before we signed any sort of contract. And I think that's just the right way to work with brands is you have to have some sort of loyalty because in the end, your audience trusts you and you have to feel good about what you are saying about a brand. But also, like if you're not under contract and a brand asks you to do something, you don't have to do it.
But are you more likely to do it if it's a brand that you have worked with previously in a contract?
Yeah. I'm well, it depends on what they're asking me to do.
Yeah.
Am I going to post something for free? No. Am I going to remove something in a blog post that references maybe a negative experience that I had? I'm pretty careful with my words, so probably not.
Okay.
I say what I mean. I say what I mean. I mean what I say. Even like we've had instances where brands are looking at what you pin on Pinterest. I've seen people get dropped by brands for pinning something problematic, racially charged, religious, political on Pinterest. You can get dropped. And so, like, when we're talking about brand expectations, and this is going beyond like, oh, what you're saying about a brand, this is just what you're saying about anything. You can get dropped for anything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it happens every day. And I think that there's a difference between like behavior online and brand expectations, but there is an overlap. Like brands aren't going to ask you to say something or not say something about the political like they're not going to ask you to say something about the political climate, but they will ask you to not say something about the political climate. In a lot of our contracts, there are content restrictions. A couple of them: no offensive or explicit content, avoid nudity, profanity, hate speech, violence, or drug use. No political or religious endorsements unless previously approved. Many brands want to avoid polarizing topics. No misleading or false claims. Influencer can't exaggerate the effectiveness of a product to make unsubstantiated claims. This is especially important in beauty, wellness, or health. And this is something that I actually struggle with because I have Hashimoto's. I have really brittle hair. I use a hair supplement that helps me with that. And I cannot mention that I have Hashimoto's when I'm talking about this hair supplement, even though to me, it's such a connection and a reason why I use it. But I'm not allowed to talk about that hair supplement when talking about my Hashimoto's.
Even organically?
Even organically, which is why I'm saying hair supplement right now. Now, and this is because they are a repeat sponsor, you know?
Right.
Yep. But you know.
Oh,
Everyone listening knows.
I saw in the mastermind an influencer shared her contract. It was like, I mean, the brand wanted her to sign for a full year, but it had all those clauses in it about like, you can't post political stuff. You can't, like, there's a list of things you can't post about. And they were like, it just seems like a lot to sign on for a year. And I was like, I know, but like, that to me is not something you can just like redline and say, I'm not doing this. I mean, you could, but do you think the brand would be willing to take that out?
No. I think just to honestly wrap up this conversation, there's a difference between being brand pleasing and brand safe. Brand pleasing is wanting to remain or keep a positive relationship with the brands that you are working with. And that is up to your discretion on how far brand pleasing you want to be. Then there's brand safe, which is following the guidelines in Good Influencer. And frankly, those come from a lot of brand contracts to keep you a safe influencer that brands aren't betting on, aren't risking it all to work with. And that's where the, profanity, nudity, political, all of those things come into play if you are a brand safe influencer. And you get to decide. We at Good Influencer just say that you're going to be able to work with a lot more brands if you're brand safe.
And I think like something that's really important to understand is that you are not just working with your rep on the other end. You are also, a legal team has to sign off on this. A finance team has to sign off on this. You have to be a smart investment for the brand, just like you want the brand to be a smart investment for you. You want to work with brands that align with your same policies and principles. And just because you are a newer influencer doesn't mean that you have to give up all kinds of, it doesn't mean that you have to agree to everything that a brand sends your way. You can still have your personal convictions of what you are and aren't willing to do for brands. And so my homework for you is to set guidelines on what goes for sponsorships and outside of sponsorships, how you want to set those guidelines for brands that you are working with and that you have a long-term relationship with, where they may be asking for things in between sponsorships, and determine how you're going to deal with that, what things you're going to say yes to and what things you're going to say no to. Take everything as a learning experience. If you had a negative experience with a brand asking you to do something, now you know that moving forward. But having those convictions, understanding the difference between and setting those guidelines between sponsorships and talking about brands organically is going to make you feel more empowered as a creator. So that is your homework. Next week's episode, we are talking about influencer etiquette, and it's not one you're going to miss. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Until next time, follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Good Influencer. And if you're ready to join a whole community of influencers growing organically and getting paid to do what they love, join the Good Influencer Mastermind by visiting our website, good-influencer.com. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.